I'm Nancy.
And I'm Simba. Welcome to our Short Throw YouTube channel. So this is gonna be our first video series called Buyer's Remorse. And I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of what the series is about before we go into our first review. This series pretty much will focus on all things related about reviewing tech and all consumer products. We want to focus on all the gadgets and all the products we love and use in our day-to-day and see if buying these products is really worth it, or will you have buyer's remorse? Because that's the one thing we all hate, is buying a product and having to sit there and be like, oh man, I wish I didn't buy this. So we're gonna do all the work to make sure we don't do that. And we are actually prepared for this. We have a whole score sheet we use, and our focus today is gonna be on cars. So we have different score sheets for different product categories. And for cars, Nancy will explain to us what our categories will be.
Yes, so it falls under 6 categories. It is drivability, brand appeal, styling, tech, comfort, space, as well as overall the value on a scale of 10. So we're gonna break that down for you guys and go from there.
Yeah, so like you said, we have a breakdown in the video on the car. So we're just gonna get right back into the first video. We were excited about this one. This car here is something that's more of a hot product right now, and everybody's into it, specifically being it's 2020 and everybody's excited about having a new car showing the new success they have. So that's why we chose this one, a luxury mid-size SUV that everybody will be interested into. Let's hop straight into the video. Okay, y'all, so we're talking about the exterior of this car. The side profile is pretty interesting. I really like it. I see a lot of cars trying to go this way too. The new Mach-E also has this kind of design language, kind of having that coupe design that everybody is into. I like it, especially this real wide rear end. My God, it is impressive. But it is also got this weird blind spot here. You're not gonna be ready for that, especially for a car this size. You'd want to have a little bit more visibility, but that's a compromise. It's a Charger, really. It's a Charger, or you know what? Better, it's like the Challenger. I think the Challenger is a better example to show how a car can have a bad blind spot, and this car fits that description. The rear window is very narrow too, but it does give a super appealing rear end. Most of these 2020 models come with this LED package. Right here, especially the all-wheel drive ones do have this, so that makes it really nice, especially have a presence at night when you're driving. And it's also good for maintenance. You don't have to change bulbs ever, so that's a good thing to have. Also, speaking about this third brake light, I really like this. It's really super wide and kind of helps, especially at night. Dual tailpipes, that's dope, especially if you're gonna try to do a muffler delete. I know you crusty boys gonna wanna do that. You can definitely do that on this boy, and it doesn't sound that bad, and you have dual, so you don't have to worry about that. It looks real nice, it looks more aggressive. This owner has done a lot of tasteful mods, some of that being these wheels are not that's not the stock color they come in, and there is a chrome delete on in the entire car. So you don't see any of the chrome, and these were also powder coated. So those are some of the mods I'd recommend. So that's probably gonna put you an extra grind on top of the car cost, on just getting your mods to look like this and kind of giving you that good contrast. I'd recommend that because I kind of don't like the chrome. It makes it look a little dated, especially in the white color. If you do have a different color, you can kind of get away with it. But I think the blue, especially, you want to go for that, definitely. Well, let's talk about the exterior. Let's talk about the space in the trunk. Being that this is a coupe, what do you get? Well, the space is not that much. It's not impressive at all. You put about 2 or 3 boxes that are high, and you are out of any space here. However, fortunately, Jag does make it awesome for you to have. If my assistant would help us by coming closer, we can see here. Jag does have some clips on here. You see how hard it is to do this? Do you see this? It's not sexy at all. It's not. But once folded, the seats do give you more space. But you can't have no friends with you, you know. So if you're trying to be an explorer, Dora the Explorer, and go out on camping trips and stuff, this might not be the car for that. Especially being the all-wheel drive, that'll be nice. However, you could put a roof rack if you wanted to, but I'm gonna mention the car does have a panoramic sunroof, so you know, that's not really gonna be fun. Let's start talking about the front of the car. Now that's where it gets real interesting. Okay, y'all, speaking about the front of this car, I really do love this front, man. Like, it's really beautiful. Especially these cars have this beautiful daytime running light right there. It has a nice presence, especially in the day. And this big, wide open grille does have that aggressive, you know, stance. And you know, if you like having a car that stands out and super flashy, this car has that. And it's more the sporty type, not really more of the luxury, you know, kind of I don't know, yacht car. It's more of a more luxury sport athletic car, and I love it. I do think it is a good, and it will age really well. So no matter which trim you get, as long as it has the LED light package, it will age really well. Well, guys, let's talk about the big problem in this car. It's gonna be the interior. All this has been nice. Let's now sit down and digest where shit gets real. Okay, here's where it gets real, y'all. Let's start talking about it. First of all, the steering wheel on this car, y'all. It is not impressive. They use this leather type material that's everywhere on this car. And it reminds me of old, early 2000s BMW attempt of this. It really does. And here Tata was not doing it any justice. We'll start with the steering wheel. The design of the steering wheel is really nice, but the material choice is just not adequate. It might be better on the SVR models because those cars are a higher price, and I can understand they're doing that, but they did this car dirty. And the steering wheel is supposed to be the more higher quality leather on this car, surprisingly, because on the dash, no, not at all. On the seats, no, not at all either. It's not a good quality leather, and it doesn't look like it's aged well, especially being that this seat here is only about a year or so, and the wear is more like a 2003 Mercedes S-Class. If you know what that looks like, yeah, you don't want that. So please keep that in mind. We're going to talk about also how this car has an infotainment system that is also a little bit dated. Think about the fact that it seems like this system runs on some sort of Android maybe, because I don't know why it's always very buggy. It reminds me of an Android device. It's super glitchy, super buggy, and the bugs come out of nowhere. It does have CarPlay, which is, thank God, a good thing. You have a lot of ports in here. You know, you can always have those options. So you have that option. You'll be good. The seats are relatively comfortable. You'll be okay. On a long journey, they do get uncomfortable. No massaging, none of that. You do only get heating on these seats right here. Just the two front seats, and that's it. Guys, I think the most important thing is if a car doesn't have an interior this good, at least it should be able to drive a little bit better. We're going to take this car on a quick drive and see, hey, what's the driving like with a car like this? And then we're going to talk about that a little bit more, and we're going to talk about what it's like having people in the car for long distance in the back seats on our drive. All right, y'all, so we're taking it on a drive. I have my assistant here, so now we can hear from her and her thoughts on the car. I want to just dive right into the feel of the car, the driving dynamics, and that's something you experience on your drive with the car. With you, there is a little bit of a power oomph when you go. It does go. It feels good. But here's the thing, it's not all the time. It's not on the tap. It's not on delivery. It feels like the transmission is not confident. It's always got a little delay, at the end. So I wasn't happy about that. But what I will say is this car um, has a lot of modes and stuff you can mess around with if you're into that type of stuff. And it has that bougie knob if you don't like gear levels. But I'm okay with that type of stuff. I'm old school. I have more to say about the fact that there's glass inside the interior of a car. I just don't like piano black, and especially the glass. It just irks me. But that's none of my business. If you like that, go ahead, cop that, love that, enjoy that. And I wanted to mention that this car also has ambient lighting at night. It's this weird teal blue color. It's not addressable. You can't change it. If you don't like that color, so be it. And you can't even turn it off. So you're stuck with it, So it's not for everybody. But if you like that, ambiance in the car, you do have that. It's gonna be impressive for your little friends when they come in your car, definitely. I wanted to also talk about the infotainment system while driving. This car has a good mix of buttons. Assistant. When you look at the interior of this car, when you were using the buttons and stuff during your drive, what stood out to you about the volume and stuff? Did you notice the delay sometimes when turning the volume or any of the infotainment stuff? Because I noticed a lot of glitches, specifically when I was connecting my CarPlay and I tried to play a video. I definitely noticed a couple of hiccups on that, and it's just frustrating, especially when you paid, almost, what do these cars go for now? 45 grand. It's used, so it's kind of ridiculous that the Android is doing that. So I would definitely stay away from that. When it comes to the suspension and the comfort of the car itself, this car is very, I would say it does have a very SUV mild suspension feel. So it doesn't compare to the higher quality luxury SUVs that have that very hefty feel, even though they do have a very smooth steering wheel. This car does have that light throw steering wheel, but it feels like it has no choice. It actually is just a light throw car. So that's what I feel like the steering wheel is very soft, and maybe it's not even connected at all, because it really doesn't feel like when you steer, the car kind of follows your natural feel of steering. But a lot of cars now naturally have that, so it's not the only car to suffer with that problem. I think I'm one of those people who like that old school BMW heavyweight steering feel that from the hydraulic steering wheels. But those days are long gone, guys. But honestly, most people who drive regular cars would not notice these things. These are things that I only mention because some of us like to get on the highway and skirt, especially if you came from a car that has a high displacement motor, like, a Tahoe or something, or you want to do something a little bit different. This won't be a little bit underwhelming in that front, but it will drive better than a lot of the American branded cars. But it's not like the Germans. The Germans have some really good driving dynamics on their cars. Even Mercedes, believe it or not, has good driving dynamics on some of the SUVs that is better than this. So I'd kind of stay away from that. This car is going to be for singles, honestly, and couples, to be honest. If you have a family and you're thinking maybe I can stick away with getting a fast-looking car and get the kids in the backseat, this might not be the car for you. And you might have had a suspicion because looking at the category this car does sit in the SUV lineup, it's not that competitive in that case. But I will say, if you do want this and you do plan on having a family, it is not a bad compromise, because there are some people out there with station wagons and there's some people out there with, hatchbacks, because we're doing the same thing. So hey, guys, I will honestly say this car's interior it's passable for a regular car. It's just not passable for the price they're asking for right now. I just suggest waiting. And the scoring we're about to do on this car will reflect that. And we're about going to the scoring. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. So brand appeal.
I pretty much wanted to break this topic down into how the car feels or what attention is when you get outside on the street. How many neck turns do you get, let's say, you know, when you're driving the car. With this car specifically, it seemed to be a big head turner. There are a couple of things that you will notice on the video that this car has that were not stock features. So as you can tell, the owner of this car definitely put in at least $2,000 or $3,000 on getting a powder coat to ensure they got that dark look on the wheels that would last for a long time. It also looks like they had a chrome delete on the entire vehicle, including the trim around the windows, the grille, and on the back. So all those features definitely cost more, but for brand appeal, that definitely brought the score up for the car because the car does look really attractive. It would definitely age well. Nancy seems to also like the outside of the car a lot, so that goes a long way, especially if you have people who are not really into cars, think a car is attractive, then you know you have it on the lockdown. So we definitely think it's one of the stronger points of this car is the exterior look, the brand appeal, having the prancing Jag in the front, on the back. That's something people are into. And the black and white monochromatic look of this car is a good thing. So if you're looking for one, try to look for a car with that, which you could either that already has a lot of the customizations that people like to modernize the car, like a chrome delete or smoked wheels. If you're into those type of things, I'd try to look into one so you can save the $2,000-$3,000 on getting the job done right from the beginning.
Overall, it just has a timeless look. So 5-10 years from now, it'll still look good.
Yeah,
it's not
good.
just like an Urus,
So the car ends up getting a 6.5 out of 10 for brand appeal, which we think is a very, very great score for an SUV.
Okay, so our next category falls into drivability.
This is my favorite category. We'll get into the driving of the car. As you can see in the review, definitely the car did kind of underperform from our expectations, especially looking from the exterior with that red, white, and you think that car would be, moving through the lanes like crazy. But to be honest with you, she's a little bit underwhelming. Drivability, I think of also the balance when you're driving the car. How does the car balance when you take corners? Those things are what give you driving confidence. And this car doesn't inspire you to drive very aggressively. It doesn't inspire that at all. For drivability, I had to give the steering, the acceleration, very low scores. So for drivability, we ended up coming up with a 3.5 out of 10. So it's definitely not a strong suit for this car. However, it doesn't have to be on every single car. So that's why some cars will always score better than other cars. And this one here just did not score well. There probably are SUVs out there that could score way higher than this. So we're hoping to find those. But as it comes to the Jag F-Pace, maybe the SVR models that come with adaptive suspension might drive better and can distribute that load better on corners. But for this one, 3.5 is the best we're gonna have to give it. And this one definitely, we have different opinions on different cars. I still gave this one a high rating just over the base of what the car represents in the market. But overall, Nancy had a different opinion on the car. So what was your take on the styling?
Yeah, overall, my styling, I'm more of like an SUV kind of person because I have a big family. And overall, like I love black and white, so you can never go wrong with black and white. Like I mentioned, it's very timeless. It's a timeless look.
Yeah, I just wasn't impressed with the trim on the outside, the black trim. I think they tried to do the plastic trimming to make it look rugged and off-road ready, but that car never had it in it to be an off-road car. They should just stuck to the design that was a sporty, car, looked streamlined. They should have kept with that philosophy. However, we still gave it a good rating. This one's a little bit subjective, but I think we settled on a 7 out of 10. We were comfortable with that in terms of that. And we mentioned that we did think the car was timeless. So that's why I was also able to agree with the score. Is I could see, like Nancy mentioned, 10 years from now, this car still looking good. So that gave it a high score. Now we're going to the categories that really matter for you daily driving people. These next couple of segments are really important for y'all. We're gonna start off with tech. Yeah, Jag definitely needs to do some work on that front, maybe updates, but this car being used, it's already been out for a while, so they've had plenty of opportunity to update this. But I'm assuming this is a very typical problem that, you know, these F-Paces will struggle with, but the technology is very underwhelming. In the review, I mentioned the clunky Android feel. That's the whole car. And that comes to when all the features that it mentions of having. What's the point of having features if they're gonna be not working half the time or glitching? So for us, for a car to actually get a point for any of the features, it has to work at least 80% of the time. Even though it does have those, they don't work and you can't test them reliably any of the time. So it just makes it not usable. Matter of fact, some of these features might give the car negative points because they actually get in the way of regular daily driving ability. So if you're looking for tech, the only tech we're able to give it points on that are worth mentioning was that it does have the CarPlay that works sometimes, and the backup camera is got a very good quality. It's got a good wide angle. So those technology features do feel good when driving, and having a nice big infotainment systems, and I think it's an 11-inch screen, beautiful resolution. Those are the only things I gave it. So we ended up giving it a score of 2 out of 10, and we're very content with that, and that will be one of the baselines for the lower scores. So if a car has to score this low, you best believe that's one thing you're gonna have a big buyer's remorse. So definitely think about that when getting this car.
One of my favorites besides technology, because for me, my priority as a practical driver, you know, I'm dependent on a car every day to be comfortable, getting me from A to B. Overall, the seats, it could be better with the materials in there, and then as well as the wear and tear wasn't as good. And you can go ahead and explain from there. You know, the material and everything.
Yeah, it wasn't a comfortable car for sure. From my take from it, I definitely felt there was a little bit of a difference from other European luxury models when it comes to the sound insulation inside the car. It's not as isolated as other luxury brands would be, like Audi would be. You get a little bit more insulation from the outside noise from an Audi Q5 or BMW X5. Those cars give you a better experience. When it comes to the space, it is in the middle. When it comes to the space, it's not it's not too good, but I will say for long trips, she gets to you. You really start feeling the lack of lumbar support, and you start really getting tired, and your back starts to ache. So even if they had added a massage feature, I don't think it would improve the whole structure of the seat. It's not really good for long distance or for tourers. You're not gonna really enjoy that. It's not the best for road trips. And when it comes to the comfort, I would say if you are somebody who likes a really cruising drive, this car gives that. It definitely does give that. So that's why we gave it a middle of the, I guess, of the board score when it came to the comfort and space, because it's about average. So we came up with a score of 5.5, and we're pretty comfortable saying, hey, that's the best this car can offer you. And this would be something that would apply to any of the trim levels. So even if you did get a higher trim, you still have to deal with this being the baseline score. So when it comes to the value of the car, this is a very important category for people who are looking for practicality, because you look at the cost of the car included with the features and compare that to comparable models on the market. We found that the easiest comparable model for somebody looking in this category, looking for the same kind of styling maybe, would be the Q5 Audi. It offers nearly the same amount of features, same amount of power plant in terms of how much power you get, and I tend to prefer that car over the Jag. However, it probably has a better styling. In terms of value, they have the same thing going for it. All the European models, all of these cars don't hold their value as well. Fortunately, these being SUVs, they will hold their value more than a sedan would. But we came up with a score of 5 because in the long run, you shouldn't be buying this car expecting it to hold any value. Being that it is a European car, it's gonna lose most of its value. The brand is what you're buying. The design is what you're buying. So be into that and that only. If you're buying this expecting to be a wise buy, as much as most car purchases aren't, This one more so than others. The value proposition is a little bit less. It's not going to give you as much resale when you go take it back to the used market. This car's prices range between $35,000 and $45,000 in general for these base trim from the 25 to 30 T, depending on what the features are. And that's pretty much what they look like on the Audi side.
Yeah.
So we ended up selling with a score of 5, all in all, when it comes to the value of this car, which gave us a total of 29.5 out of 60 for the total for the car, which reflects really our thoughts on the car. It's apart from the looks, everything else is just meh. It's
Exactly.
really just
I'm very
average.
content with that value, and it really shows you where we stand with it. Overall, it might not even be a good investment. It's just you're paying for the looks.
So
Overall,
this one
it's
here,
too overpriced.
we agree with you too. This one he doesn't pass that, so definitely mad buyer's remorse when you buy this car. You will feel it from the quality of the interior to just the technology.
Yes.
You will feel it. So if you want it, go into it knowing that. Go wear blindfold if you could when you drive. I'm serious. It's that bad over time. But I'd still say, personally, believe it or not, if as an SUV person, as a person who doesn't like SUVs, this would still be on my top 10 lookers. So that's got a lot going for it. Take that as you will. Guys, we appreciate you joining us for our first Buyer's Remorse episode. Please subscribe to the channel. We're going to try to keep these coming hard and be as informative as we can, and so you can get the real value you're looking for when you're looking for used cars or new cars. Our next product, we're not sure what it'll be yet, so stay tuned for that. But thank you again.
Thank you for watching.